After the Civil War, bourbon was hot. The peace dividend was paying off. People wanted to enjoy distilled spirits. The opportunity was so good that you had people come to the table that wanted to shortcut the whole system. They didn't want to build a distillery and sit on this stuff for a couple of years. They wanted to make a quick buck.
You didn't really know where your whiskey was coming from or who made it or who might have tampered with it before you tasted it, before you went to the bar and got a drink, or before your doctor prescribed it to you.
Bourbon was in such a high demand that there were these rectifiers who were making bourbon overnight.
They'd add either neutral spirits or they'd add rubbing alcohol or water, and since the color was lighter, they might put a little tobacco spit in there to get the color back up. Maybe the bite wasn't there, so they'd add just acid to it.
They would look the same to the naked eye. And the packaging sort of betrayed that trust, really. That original social contract of what I put on this label is what is in this bottle was being broken.
People were literally dying. That's where the name gut drink comes from, was that rectifier era.
To the consumer, they would go in and they would see 2 bottles of bourbon. One would be authentically produced according to standards that are more or less the same as how we make bourbon today. The other was bogus, hocus pocus. It could be neutral grain spirit with food coloring and sugar. That started to tarnish the reputation of whiskey.
Colonel Taylor was a banker from Frankfort, Kentucky, who eventually got into distilling, and anything he did first class. He was very proud of what the distillery looked like, very proud of the product he made, and he wanted to make sure that that product got to the consumer.
In 1887, Colonel Taylor built a limestone castle to house his distillery. In a way, it symbolized protection for his bourbon from an industry that people back then really couldn't trust. So he worked for 10 years on the Bottle and Bond Act of 1897.
Bottle and Bond Act was the first truth in advertising law in the United States. Now think about that. Didn't start with food, didn't start with medicine, didn't start with fuel. It started with whiskey.
He brought trust and transparency and authenticity and that respect and that relationship between the consumer and the distiller.
This was a revolutionary moment. After the Bottle and Bond Act was passed, consumers could walk into the store, pick up a bottle, see Bottle and Bond on the label, and they would be assured of the quality that they were getting. And this changed the story of bourbon forever.